Happy New Year's, guys. Welcome back. We have had a great year on this channel. And it has been a great year in the 3D world. So let's take this time to look back on what has been happening this year in the 3D world and the motion design world. So we have got Cinema R25, and holy shit, that was a clusterfuck. It was a good thing on one side, and the UI looked like Blender, and so many people were mad. And also one of the biggest things this year was that Maxon acquired ZBrush. So it's going to be so exciting to see what the future is gonna hold and what new features we're gonna get from ZBrush and Maxon. And like last year, we had a big rise in NFTs, and people kicked the year off by selling his Everyday's collage for $69 million. What a time to be alive. And alone on this channel, I have made 20 videos, tutorials for you guys, and we've done it together with your great suggestions in the comments. I'm just gonna say a big thank you to you guys, first of all, and a happy new year. So what are we gonna do for the last video of the year? Well, we're gonna make a simple foam texture in Redshift. And the technique we're gonna be using can be duplicated and replicated in so many other projects. So let's just get into what we're gonna create today. So, first of all, we need to create a material, a new material. Don't look at this floor, because I just made a floor really quickly, and you just ignore that. So now we have created a new texture, and as you can see, it looks very gray. So I think the first thing we should do is we should make it another color, and let's make it something that's a little bit more foam looking. Maybe like this. I think that should be good. Let's give it a little bit of roughness, like this, 0.1. And that is actually all you should do in this tab. Then I think the first thing we're gonna do is just take a look at the displacement. And for the displacement, let me just make it a little bit bigger here. And let's just put the material on the remeasure. And as you can see, it really looks shitty right now. So let's fix that. So let's create a displacement. And as you can see, I'm used to pressing Shift C to bring up the nodes menu. It's a quick search menu. You could also go out to tools and then turn on the node panel, so you got all the nodes here. But I'll be using the Shift C command for the whole tutorial. So that was for all you guys wondering out there. All right, so we need to create a displacement. And we also need to create a noise, Maxon noise, to be exact. So let's set it to RONOI 1. Let's just pipe it into the source so we can see what's going on. And as you can see, we have this look. All right, so we need to do some things with this noise before it looks great. So first of all, we're gonna invert it. And you can invert the colors, but you could also invert it down here in the low clip and high clip. And I'm just gonna set my high clip to 75. And as you can see, we get a lot of balls here. And this is what we're gonna use to drive this effect. So let me go and pass this into our displacement and pass the displacement into the displacement source. Right. So before we can displace, we need to put a tag over here, a Redshift object tag. Under geometry, we need to say override the geometry. We need to have tessellation on. That's what makes the displacement a little bit more nice in the edges. And we need to have displacement on. All right. So first of all, click this off, screen adaptive. That's how far and close you are to the object. Then it displaces more or less. We're not going to need that because it just ruins the effect. So first of all, we're just going to set our displacement, maximum displacement to 2 and displacement scale to 2. And then we're going to set our edge length. That's how we're going to determine. Let me just put our material on it so you can see better. But that's how we're going to determine the quality of the edges on these bubbles here. And when we get to a smaller scale, it's actually going to be really hard to get enough detail so you can see the bubbles. So therefore, we're going to crank this down to 0.5. And 0.5 is really low. And if you don't have a good computer, this could take a long time to render. So just be aware of that. Let's just go into our displacement. All right, so now they are actually moving upwards. And all of the bubbles, I don't know if you can see it. Let me just crank it to 2. You can definitely see it with this one. All of the bubbles are not round. They're kind of cone-shaped, like this one. You can see that they have a tip here, and they're a little bit curvy, but they're kind of cone-shaped also. And we really don't want that. So we first of all need to make it go the other way. So we just have to press -1. And then they'll go inwards. Haha, nice. So I know that we need 0.5 to make this effect work. And now we can take a look at the whole object. And as you can see, it just looks like somebody beat it up with a bat or something. And it really doesn't look that great yet. So what do we need to do to make it look so much cooler? Well, first of all, our noise scale is so off. So we're going to put it to 0.05. And this is going to be the correct noise scale for our project. Let me just preview it for you guys here. As you can see, it's really, really small. And it's really foam-like. But as you can see, we're forgetting something. Because foam, usually light can travel through foam. So what do we need to do to get some light through the foam? Well, let's go to our material. Let's hop into the multi-SSS tab. And let's crank the amount up to 1. Let's see what happens. So, first of all, you can see over here that it takes a lot more time to render. But second of all, you can see that we have some light shining through it. And we actually need to change this color to white so that it's white light shining through the object. And then we need the scale. That should be the scale of the object. We need that to be 35. And I just know from this object that it's the correct scale for this object. So you should always play around with the scale of your object. I think we need to do one important step here. And let me just preview this for you guys. So as you guys can see, it looks like foam, but it feels more like a felt thing. And it's a bit undefined here. So how can we make it more defined? I have 2 nodes you should learn to know. And first of all, before we learn these 2 nodes, then I'm gonna turn this to point-based. And it's gonna render much faster. It's not gonna render as accurate, but it's gonna render so much faster. And we'll get more of a light shine through, more foam-like. And as you can see, we're almost there. It's really starting to look like foam. But it's still a bit of a mess inside of here. So one thing I want to do is we should go back. So we should go back to the original scale of 1, because I'm gonna show you something. And you don't need to do this. You can just add the 2 nodes, but I'm gonna show you what they actually are doing. So these nodes are called the POW and the SQT node. SQRT node. All right. So we are gonna plug our noise into this POW, and then we're gonna plug the POW into our SQRT node. So let's just make some room and let's plug them in here, and let's plug it into the surface so we actually can see what's going on. So the POW should just be staying at 1, and this should also, you can't change anything here, but this should just be standard. So what are we actually doing here? Well, we are actually creating a bit of a nicer border. As you can see, if I throw this down, then it's getting much more contrasted and sharp. If I just put it to 1 again, and if I bring this one, the original noise, inside of our surface, then you can see we get a much less defined bubble than if we use the POW and the SQRT. And the SQRT and the POW set together is a much more round bump or a round displacement. So let's put them inside of a displacement. Let's put the displacement inside of the displacement again. Let's put the surface, our material, inside of our surface. And as you can see, we get loads more definition in the surface and the bubbles. So if you see before, this is the before, where it's not that defined. It's defined down here where we get some shadows, but it's really not defined up here. To this, where we have loads more definition in our balls. In our bubbles, I might say. Not balls. All right. So that was just to demonstrate the look of the POW and the SQRT. So if you were at the place where the foam didn't look that good, you just need to add these two nodes and you're fine. So let's go back to that point again. So 0.05, and we're at that point. So I just want to render this out so you guys can see what it looks like. And then we should be all done with this little material. So this is the material rendered out. And as you can see, I can just zoom out a bit here so you can take a look at the material setup. This is the material setup. It's just a noise that's been piped into a POW and a SQRT and then into a displacement. So before, we actually didn't get all of these nice little highlights when we just used the noise. So it really added some realness and some cool highlights to our foam when we added these two nodes. So you should just go and turn on your computer and make this nice looking foam texture. Thank you so much for being here this year on the YouTube channel, and also thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys are gonna have a great holiday, and I'm gonna see you guys next year with loads more videos. So I think there's only one thing left to say. Keep rendering and Happy New Year.